Hi guys, and welcome back to Abridged with a Scot. This is Tolkien Abridged, the Silmarillion Abridged. I am Rabu, I am the titular Scot who will be abridging things, and as ever our mission statement for this series, Tolkien, wonderful, bit hard to understand. What else is hard to understand but wonderful? The Scottish. So here we go. The last time, it was all going on. We covered a chapter 1 of the Silmarillion proper. We were properly into the story here. The beginning of days. We had world wars, we had the world being reshaped, we had the Valar, getting battered by Melkor, we had Melkor getting battered by Tulkas, we had them, going across that whole other continent while Melkor creates an underground dungeon and shit. It was all happening. And now, today, we're moving into a chapter called Of Aulë and Yavanna. And you might be thinking to yourself, that doesn't sound very exciting. Or Aulë and Yavanna, or the smith and the nature goddess, oh great, they're married, or this is going to be like a pure soppy chapter, maybe I can say, no, don't skip this one. Some pretty big stuff happens here, which you might not have expected, but so I did give a little spoiler towards the end of the last chapter, but who hadn't been mentioned before? We've heard about, the Valar, and we've heard about Eru, the elves, the men are still to come. We hadn't heard anything about the dwarves. Well, look no further. If you are a dwarf fan, if you like a little round of diggy hole, as it were, then this is the chapter for you. So anyway, into the chapter of Aulë and Yavanna, chapter 2 of the Quenta Silmarillion. So, we pick up with Aulë, and basically, here we go. He's got a bit of an itchy trigger finger. There's your man. There's your Hephaestus. And he basically goes, I can't wait. I'm buzzing for the elves and the men. I'm buzzing for the children of Ilúvatar. I want to make my own. I want to have a go at this whole creating sentient life thing, or at least creating life thing. So he does. He goes underground in Middle Earth, and he creates his own race, the dwarves. And you know what dwarves are like. I'm sure classic fantasy trope, small, hardy, bearded, and basically this is down to the fact that Aulë doesn't have any idea what the elves and men are actually going to be like. He just knows that they're coming at some point, and obviously all the Valar can shapeshift and change. So he doesn't. So he just puts his finger in the air and just goes, maybe something like this, which is why the dwarves are, say, different to the elves and men. But essentially he builds them this way because he goes, that psychopath Melkor's still out there. And if the dwarves ever run into any trouble, which they probably will because of that guy, I should probably make them, up to the task. So he makes them hardy, he makes them strong, he makes them resistant to heat, resistant to hunger. They have great stamina, they're great at building things because he puts a bit of himself into it. Again, he doesn't really know what life is meant to look like, so he just kind of makes a bunch of little hymns, little smiths essentially. So yeah, he creates the 7 fathers of the dwarves, but at this point it's not really sentient life, because Aulë doesn't really have that ability. But anyway, so he creates these 7 automatons, essentially these 7 dwarvish figures, and suddenly realizes who's looking over his shoulder. It's only the god of the universe, Eru Ilúvatar. And he goes, what you got there, Aulë? Seem to remember me telling you that I was the only one who could create sentient life in this particular universe. I think you might be overstepping your bounds a little bit there, buddy. Also, I don't know if you remember, but I'm kind of omniscient. Did you think you could really, get this through customs without me figuring it out? Aulë kind of just but he just gives up the ghost immediately. He just kind of goes imitation's the serious form of flattery. I was just trying to be like you, honest. It's not a big deal. And I was kind of like you realise, right? They're just puppets. They don't actually have free will. I was like, I get it. I was, what am I like? Whatever. Yes, I better kill them. Just no backlift. Just instantly goes to better murder these things that I created in my own image. Jesus Christ, Aulë. He picks up obviously this massive hammer as a god of smithing would have. how they come on, at least like go through the motions, at least like try and, kind of like negotiate a little bit. Nope, straight to, yep, I will just, yes sir, how, but not even yes sir, because Eru doesn't even say, even Eru's like, Jesus Christ, Aulë, like look at them, they're scared, look at them, they're running away from the hammer, it was just a test, I've given them sentient life, like, it's just, put down the hammer, Jesus. He's like, look, they've got sentient life, like, you didn't do this out of badness, you just did it out of a willingness to create, and, like, I love that for you, so you know what, yeah, like, your little weird dwarven things, your little weird beardy men, they can live, like, that's fine. So I've given them free will. I'm not going to be making any more changes, to be honest. This isn't my project, so they're going out as is, the alpha, the beta, whatever stage they're in. Also, there's no way that these little bearded scrubs are going out into the world before my chosen firstborn, e.g. the elves, like, the fucking beautiful, meticulous race that Eru has, like, designed to come into the world. So it's like, yeah, these little fuckers, they're going to be in the world eventually, but right now they are going on ice. They are going underground. They are going to sleep. They are going under general anesthesia for right now. And he also just gives a little bit of middle foreshadowing. He's just looking at them. He's like, God, they're just so different to like the elves and men, like the children that I've created. Like, God, there are going to be some issues between these guys and my guys. Mild foreshadowing there. And yeah, we just get another little rundown of like, why the dwarves have been built this way to handle, like, basically just all the kind of troubles and toils of the world that they possibly could. They also live longer than men, but they don't live forever. And they have their own, like, belief system. The elves think that the dwarves will, like, disappear the same way that men do. But the dwarves believe that they will basically be taken to like a separate part of the kind of afterlife of Tolkien. And they'll meet up with Aulë, and basically they'll be kind of, just hanging around until the world ends, and then they will take part in, the recreation of the next world, I guess. So we also get a fun little tidbit and a fun little name drop that people might be familiar with. So yeah, we have the seven fathers of the dwarves. And among the dwarves, they have the belief that these seven fathers will be recreated over time. They'll be reincarnated, and they will bear their old names. And the most famous of these is Durin. And his mansion is called Khazad-dûm, which, some of you might be familiar with, or might be more familiar with as Moria, the Black Pit. Anyway, so this all happens with Aulë and Eru. Aule's like, can't believe how good this has gone, So he goes home and he goes to Yavanna and he's like, oh God, I created these things. And, I was totally going to kill them, but then I didn't. And, they have free will and stuff now, and they're going to be able to take part in the world. This is going to be great. And yeah, Yavanna's like, I'm sorry, what? You made what without Eru knowing? What do you mean you were rewarded? And she can realise this. She's like, oh God, they're going to be like a bunch of little yous. Oh God, like, my trees? What about my trees? Oh my God, they're going to cut down so many trees to build their fires and their forges and stuff. Like, but what? Like, what the fuck? Like, why would you create these things? And Aulë kind of points out, well, I don't know if you've noticed, but all of the children of Iluvatar are going to do that. Like, literally, this world was made for them to run around in. Yavanna's like, fucking what? I need to go and speak to Manwë. So she goes to the big cheese himself, goes to Manwë, pleads her case, and basically goes, all my nature stuff, all my trees, my plants, my flowers aren't here yet, but all the stuff that exists, like, it's going to get vandalized by these little weird sentient beings, and to be honest, I'm not happy about it. It's an outrage, and basically, like, Yavanna is like we all know an irritating vegan / like activist person, and Yavanna's like the OG Tolkien like activist essentially. She basically wants like a bouncer for the forests. She's the Lorax. She speaks for the trees. So Manwë does what anybody would do in this case, and he decides to trip balls. And he listens to the music of Iluvatar one more time, because he just loves that shit. But he has like this weird ass vision where like he's part of the music, but then he's outside of the music, and he gains like a greater understanding of it and stuff. And he comes back, and he's like, "Oh, Yavanna, Jesus, you're still here. Oh God, how long was I out?" But he's like, "Yeah, so a couple more details. I've re-listened, and there's going to be eagles, so that's going to be pretty awesome." And I was like, "Oh my God, that's great! Like, sick. So they'll protect my forest, right?" And man was like, no, they'll live in the mountains, obviously. Yavanna's like, okay, not really sure how that's relevant then, but okay, I guess. Mambet's like, don't worry, the shepherds of the trees will take care of the forests. Yavanna's like, wait, what? What are the shepherds of the... So you might be asking the same question, what are the shepherds of the trees? Well, you might know them better as the Ents, like Treebeard in Lord of the Rings. So this is how the Ents are created in the first place, is to basically just try and stop all of nature being vandalised, which is quite a big theme in Tolkien's work, you know, so obviously it loves a bit of that. So anyway, now Yavanna's like, yes, and goes home, much the same way that Aulë was like, yes, and went home earlier. So yeah, so she goes home, and she basically goes, na 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 na, they won't cut the trees, to Aulë about the dwarves and stuff. And the end of the chapter, yeah, just Aulë just drops this fucking cold ass line, just goes, nonetheless, they will have need of wood. Fucking hell, man, he's sleeping on the couch tonight after that one. Basically just wrapping up, he's basically just went, fuck your trees and fuck your Ents as well. Like, my boy's gonna be chopping them down and making fuel. Anyway, so that's the end of the chapter of Aulë and Yavanna. Again, it seems like it would have been like a kind of boring chapter, or maybe like a romance-based chapter. No. We only have the creation of the dwarves and the Ents and the eagles and Manwë tripping balls and like some, you know, domestic disputes and whatnot. But yeah, so that's where we are at the end of today, at the end of chapter 2. And we have the, some tiny spoilers. So the next time we're going to move on to chapter 3. It's only finally time for the elves to wake up. It's only finally time for the children of Iluvatar to come into the story. So yeah, the next chapter is called Of the Coming of the Elves and the Captivity of Melkor. Ooh. Sounds exciting, doesn't it? So come back for the next one when we cover that. And enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for joining me, guys. Bye.